Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we're helping the world experience what's possible. And here today to help me with that mission are some of the amazing expert co-authors of a new book that we have coming out. This one is called High Vibrational Wellness: Intuitive Healing Therapies to Nourish Your Body Temple. Oh my goodness, this is a juicy topic. Before I introduce these amazing authors to you, a huge thank you goes out to Savante Wolkin, our lead author of this beautiful collaboration. Savante, this book and your big mission and vision are spectacular. I'm so honored to be here with you, creating this book and bringing these brave words out into the world. This is really, truly a gift, you guys. You're going to have vulnerable stories that are healing in and of themselves, but our experts are stepping up to teach you tools and strategies and practices of high vibe living. And I can't wait to introduce these authors to you today. Dr. Cheryl Friedman is a quantum healing practitioner who helps clients heal their past and pass through the personal spiritual stargates, release their creative spirits. You guys, I need to get an award for the alliteration in some of these bios. Seriously, I love it. I love it. Denise Flood is here, and she is the founder of Change Your Frequency, Change Your Life, an empowering self-care program that puts healing at your fingertips. Julianne Farrell is here. She's the founder of the House of Wellness by Julianne, a nurturing space to heal through yoga, Reiki, and sound therapies. And Ruth Bailey is here. She's a Raindrop Technique specialist committed to sharing natural healing methods to reduce stress in your life. All right, Cheryl, you're going to start the party off today. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, first of all, Laura, thank you so much for inviting all of us here, because it's a really wonderful experience. My chapter is connecting to the power of the higher consciousness, and it's about creating inner peace after emotionally abusive relationships. And the reason that I picked that particular topic, because quantum healing can do a myriad of healing for all kinds of different things. I chose that topic because over the last 30 some years of my life, I've had the experience of dealing with a lot of narcissistic people. And no matter how many times that comes up, there's always something new to learn until you finally get it. And what I found that helped me the most was culmination of these 30 years of different kinds of practices, and ended up with the quantum healing, which is kind of a combination of past life regression and connecting with source so that you can get the answers you're looking for. And I don't want to tell you a lot about the chapter because we're going to be getting into that later, but that's basically how I came to choose this particular topic to write my chapter about.
Well, oh my gosh, I got so many questions for you, but you started to go there a little bit. I want to help people who have never heard the term quantum healing before today.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So you started to give us a little explanation, but what do you want people to know about this modality?
Okay, well, quantum healing, which fits in perfectly with high vibrational wellness, is about dealing with frequencies and vibrations. We're all vibrational beings. And that is the way we connect what we have inside us to the outer world. So in a nutshell, it's basically learning how to use the vibrations you're getting in to figure things out, and putting out the kind of vibrations that are going to help you heal and get you what you want.
I like that. I like what it's about. All right. I want to skip to the topic of narcissism for just a minute because you went there.
Okay.
And I want, how do we know we're faced with that? We're in a relationship, something's going on. I think in my own, I started to second guess myself. That was my first clue. Yeah. Well, tell me, how else do we know? How can we know for sure? And what are we going to do about it? First steps.
That's a wonderful question because it's actually one of the reasons people stay in narcissistic relationships for so long, because the person who is acting this way towards you really gets you to believe that it's something you're doing wrong. You know, it's just, you say, okay, if I hadn't done this, he wouldn't have done that. If I hadn't done this, she wouldn't have done that. So you start blaming yourself and you really internalize all that and you take in what they're saying, which is a lot about what I wrote the chapter about. When you start taking that in, you are basically dragging down your own vibrations. And it's very difficult to see that there's even a way out of it.
And I love how you tied those two things together just now. This is important for people to be aware of. And sometimes you have to kind of wake up inside your moments where you're starting to second guess yourself because it's affecting your vibration. That's what I wanted people to hear. With awareness, we have a choice. That's profound. And if you're waking up in that moment, then you have the choice to change the vibration. What would you tell someone to do in that moment if they, shift the thinking, do some breath work? What's your go-to?
Yeah. Well, originally my go-to was hypnosis. Once I found hypnosis, I was able to manage what I was putting back out because it's kind of a vicious circle. If you start putting out that negative energy, the person you're dealing with is giving you 10 times more of that negative energy back again. So anything like meditation, walk in the woods, anything that you can do just to be by yourself for a little bit and create a little bit of peace so you can think. When you're in that high vibrational anxiety state, you can't even think straight. So that would be the first thing I tell somebody to do. Find meditation, tennis, anything that you can just be on your own and kind of relax and think.
Love it, Cheryl. Thank you. Cheryl, thank you for saying yes to this project and for
You're
being here
welcome.
today. Denise, you're up next. Tell us about your amazing chapter.
Well, thank you, Laura. I so appreciate being here with all of you. I wrote chapter 12 using EFT to heal emotional eating from generational wounds. And I wanted to share it with the world because we've all heard that phrase, if you don't learn from your past, you're bound to repeat it. And when I was first invited to be a part of this, I chose emotional eating because that was something from my own childhood that had been passed down through the generations before me. And when we realize that we can release the burdens that we have from our past, from our family lines, and step into empowerment and freedom, that is the choice moment. And I chose EFT to highlight. I use many different things, but because for me, it's very important that people have a self-care tool that they can take home with them after a session with someone, that they have the ability to, in the middle of the night when they wake up in panic mode or in shame mode or whatever is going on, that they have something that is as simple as tapping on their body and that's scientifically proven to change the vibration and allow the space to come back to self, to come back to the divine being that we each are.
Tapping is there's so many beautiful modalities, aren't there? It's one of my favorites. It's profound instant shifter, at least it has been for me. And how cool it is that we can give people a gift that they can do anywhere, pretty much anywhere, if you're not afraid of showing people that you're tapping on yourself, right? What's, I think that sometimes we hear about the modalities and there's skeptics out there. What do you want to tell the skeptics? You said scientifically proven. Tell me a little bit more about that, little bit of the science.
A little bit of the science is that they have done the electrode on the brain study of and putting people in stressful situations and then having them tap. And you can see the cortisol levels coming down. You can see the areas of the brain change from high stress into a more calm and centered space.
I love that. I got that visual just now too. That is super cool science, you guys. And this technique is so, so easy. Do you remember a time, Denise, when you first used it? Can you give us a story of what happened? Like, tell us one of your juicy moments with tapping.
I think one of the juiciest moments for my own self personally was transversing when my mother passed. And I came from a lineage of women being lesser and watched her go through her own changes as she lost her husband and had to step into her own power. And then losing her, the grief that I felt was beyond my own understanding. And having the tool, which I had actually learned tapping as a teacher to help children with stress anxiety for testing and things like that. And importing it to use it with myself was life-changing. And that's when I knew I wanted to share it on a bigger level than just individual children in a one-on-one situation. That's when I realized that this was something that the whole world needs, because so many wounds come up when you lose a parental figure. And having the ability, and I'm going to just tap right here on my chest as I say this, is having that tool. It was so imperative to me. And I used other modalities, and I had the blessing to use both as some of the people right here in this session of helping me through things. So I think it is a group effort for healing. But tapping in particular is that self-care modality that got me through many nights of grief.
Thanks for sharing that personal piece with us. I think that helps listeners to understand what's possible in terms of the things that they're going through. So I appreciate that. And thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Laura.
Ruth, tell us about your amazing chapter.
So my chapter is chapter 5, the Raindrop Technique and Unlocking the Secrets of Essential Oils to help with mind and body connection and relaxation. And I choose that topic because it was a newfound love, I would say. For me, I was changing my career path as a social worker, and I discovered the raindrop technique and how beneficial it was for clients, for people, in just helping them to relax and using the essential oils. And it was just a connection between the oils and therapeutic touch. And I saw that with the pandemic and not having, isolation, that touch was very needed, and how helpful it was. So I just kind of changed tracks and went down that road. It's been a journey.
Essential oils are such another such profound tool, modality, medicine, very powerful. And so there's so many different ways to use the oils, you guys. A raindrop technique is one particular way to use this kind of this modality, this medicine. So Ruth, tell us a little bit more about what happens in a raindrop technique.
So raindrop technique is more of like mind and body. It's a chance to pause. And not often do we, just sit still and be present with our thoughts. So it's a chance for you, as you're laying on the table, for you to just relax. I start with balancing the energy on your shoulders and I normally would pray over people. And then I start at the feet doing a reflexology like motion, going up and down your feet from your heel to your toe. And I'm applying oils such as like oregano, thyme, which is shown to help with helping you boost your immune system and things like that. So I start with the feet, then I have the person turn over to their back, and I'm doing light feather touches to move the oils into the person's along their spine. And just doing that alone, it just helps to the oils to meet more on a cellular level. It goes into your spine, your nervous system. And a lot of times at the end, the person is just so relaxed. And I've had people say, I feel 10 years younger. So it's something you have to experience. And those who've experienced Raindrop, I just ask you guys to share more about it. And that's what I want to do, is share more about the benefits of the Raindrop.
So similar question as I asked Denise, do you remember a moment when you had the treatment, and maybe give us a little example?
So when I first received the treatment was when I was going through the training, through the care teaching, and my body was so relaxed. I fell asleep. I was out, and people were just amazed of how I was. When I said I was out snoring, just and this was during the class, and I just woke up more refreshed, and I just like more people need to, to receive this and to experience this. And so that's why I wanted to kind of change tracks and just share it with others, because it wasn't, I looked in the area too, and it wasn't something people were doing. So.
Yeah, it is a beautiful modality, and that that kind of rest that Ruth is talking about, where your nervous system can come down a few notches and you just kind of drop into that full relaxation. I mean, even just talking about it, I realize so many of us haven't been able to access that place in a while. And when you can understand that you haven't been there in a while, you can understand that you haven't been giving yourself an opportunity to truly heal, get into the space of healing, right? And that deep state of relaxation, with or without sleep, but sleep is good, you know. Ruth, thank you so much for being in this project and for being here today.
Thank you.
Julianne, tell us about your chapter.
I'm chapter 8, and that is all about the yogic remedy for perfectionism, which I think we all have a little bit of. It's about following this profound forgiveness path into retrieving your self-worth. It is amazing how we move, how we hold energy, and what we can release by grounding into the body, this cosmic intelligence, this space that holds all the answers, and get into that higher self. It's a journey to the higher self, to grab into that worth, the worthiness of our being, and live from that space and release whatever else is non-serving.
All right, perfectionism. We're going to go there for a minute. Like, you know, I know a lot of people who are recovering perfectionists. Yeah, there's a lot of us. What's the most important thing you want people to know about that topic? Like, you know, can they recognize a sign in themselves, and what do you want them to do with that?
Yeah, the most important thing about the topic itself is it's okay to be imperfect. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not strive all the time and compare and compete and go, go, go. It's okay to have an emotion, and the emotion is the regulation in the body. My biggest takeaway is allow yourself to make the mistakes and celebrate them. Forgive the ideals that we have, that we've built, that we've been conditioned to. Allow the water to flow and to accept that we are imperfectly perfect. And that is the worth of our being.
When we pause in a moment of the mistake, I'll just use that word for now. for some people, there is such a horrible, palpable feeling. And I'm going to just say shame for now, because it can get that bad. And I know some of you know what I'm talking about. Like, you make the mistake and you get that hit. Literally, it feels like a spear to your heart sometimes. The pause of awareness, right? Julianne, what do you want us to know about that?
Yeah, really, the yogic remedy, it doesn't mean that we always have to get on a mat. It can even be sitting in a chair right here. It's about reconnecting and grounding to self through breath and the release of the energy, a healthy way to release that shame. And we can do that. There's been so many beautiful ways here illustrated how to do that. This is through that sense of using your body to get into the deep resources and then release it, so that we sit in that grounding space. And the catalyst is really to start with the breath. The yogic remedy is all about connection through breath. So body, mind, and self come together. The shame can be released naturally, easily, once we sit in the self and the higher self. And so movement is medicine. And I illustrate that through the tools. Is there's movement ways that you can release all that energy that's sticky, the stagnant, and get right in to the heart of your being, right into who you are without identification, without the necessarily the ego self and the measurement that we've been conditioned to.
Do you have a favorite pose?
Right now, my favorite pose is an upward facing side plank, or in the biz, it's called wild thing. And it allows me to just open my whole heart, my hips, release everything. But other than that, I think one of the things that I love the most is that it doesn't have to be so big and bold. And right now, just doing this and being really, I almost have tears here, nutritive to my inner child and myself and my heart, and understand I can forgive all those mistakes and all those imperfections, or not being like everybody else, and love what's inside.
Thank you, Julianne. Thank you for being here today to share this. Wait, there's a pose called Wild Thing, you guys? Like, I don't know if I've learned that pose yet. I need to do that. All right. So in this book, and really all of our titles that we publish here at Brave Healer Productions, we take a holistic approach. Holistic is important for lots of reasons. Denise, when it comes to this journey that we're on, give us your take on why holistic.
Why holistic? Because holistic is whole body, whole mind, whole spirit, and it works on every level, and it is natural, and it is divine intervention almost, I would say, in that you're using the things that have been put on this earth, whether it is a person, whether it is a substance, whether it is a technique that works with our bodies. Our bodies are the vehicle we have to move forward on this earth. Without our body, we're not here. And so when we treat our body respectfully in a holistic way, then we are aligning with that divinity within us.
Awesome. Thank you for kicking off that question so brilliantly. Ruth, I'm coming to you. So when you think of holistic, a holistic approach to this life, to this high vibe wellness that we're after in this book, what do you want to add?
I will add that with holistic, it's a whole body, and you're going to keep hearing that, the whole body. And oftentimes, we may focus on one area, like detoxing the physical body. But what I've learned is that you need to also detox emotions as well, because a lot of our sickness or illness comes from holding resentment or not forgiven. And when we learn to do that and also work on our physical body, it's just a beautiful experience. So I would say for the holistic to not only work on the physical body, but work on emotions that's maybe trapping and causing issues in our bodies.
I love it. Perfect addition to that. And I love hearing all of your ways of talking about this, you guys. It's brilliant. Julianne, what do you want to add? What's important to you when you think of a holistic approach?
It's stripping away all the material, stripping away the technology, and coming back to the most simple things in life. The simple organic material of your body, the simple emotions that flow or that are expressed, and then sitting in that space of the divinity. As my colleagues here, amazing co-authors, by the way, have just mentioned, holistic is to just be.
I love that. I love that way of thinking about it. Sitting in the divinity. Yeah. Cheryl, how about you? What's it's hard to go last on this one, I know, but what,
Okay.
what do you want to add to this?
I think what I would love to add, and by the way, I agree with everything that everyone else has said, because it is a whole process. To me, it was the words, everything is connected. And that's why I was drawn to quantum healing, because it allows you to zoom out, basically, see the entire picture of everything that's working together. And believe me, everything's connected from the universe right down into your divine blueprint. And then you are able to figure out what you need to let go of and what you need to bring in more of.
Mm. I have big gratitude for all of you for just who you are and what you do in the world. But, you didn't just say yes to this project. You took my challenge of putting what you normally teach, you're all master teachers, into black and white in a book in a way that our readers could have a practical experience. I hope that our listeners are having the idea here about what golden nuggets of awareness are being dropped today and are going to be in this book. It's really exciting to me. This is such a gift. And we are talking about living that high vibe life. It looks different for everybody. If you peeked into my window, my morning practice is me getting quiet. I've got a notebook and a pen most all the time. And I'm mostly going to be outside. I'm sitting in nature unless it's like 98 degrees like it has been this week. But that nature connection, quieting the mind, bringing my pen to the notebook, allowing a flow, so I am using that as an awareness practice to raise my vibe. That's an example for me. Ruth, if I was going to look into your window, what's one of the ways you live high vibe?
I begin my day with prayer and just a quiet moment and just thanking the Lord for bringing me to seeing another day. I enjoy mornings where I'm able to just pause, lay still, just lay in the bed and just thank Him for a new day and just be able to say, here I am, use me as you will. I like to say it, just impressed on who I should be reaching out to today. And I normally do exercise and just a few stretches or going on my vibrational machine, which vibrates my whole body. And, just taking my oils just to relax and just being that nice zen. I love the oil stress away because that's what I had on today to just help me to relax. So that's how I normally would begin a day before I start.
I love it. Sounds like a miracle morning to me. We've been talking about that in these interviews a lot because the authors, almost every single one of them, will talk about a morning practice because it sets up the rest of their day. So when those eyes open, a prayer of gratitude, like, yeah, that is already vibing high, right? Julianne, how about you? If we were going to peek at your practice, what would that look like? What's one of your favorite ways?
From the minute I wake up, I don't rush up, and I practice gratitude for the simple things. I'm going to weave that simple back in, for my pillow, for my blanket. I know we've all had times when we're like, oh, the day we have so much going on. So I start very simple. For the night's rest, I sit up, put my feet on the ground, and take my water that's right next to my bed and do a prayer for the water, that it can help me flow and heal, and thank it for its life. And then from there, I'm up and I'm moving and I'm making my ceremonial tea. I sit and I do breath work, usually about 10 minutes, where it just clears whatever thoughts are. I tend to have, like, oh, what's the day like? What's busyness in the mind? So I work with my breath. And I can vary it based on what I need. Lately, it's been a more like very active breath, called Kapalabhati breath, to really get me into my inner vision and what's most important. And then from there, I hit the road running. So I'll move, of course, yoga is a part of my daily practice, but it might weave itself later in. Ultimately, it's the prayer, the intention, the gratitude, and then centering in my nervous system for nervous system regulation.
These are really powerful practices, you guys. So, sometimes you wake up in the morning and you might have had some bad dreams, and you actually are waking a bit riled up already, right? Like, and so it's hard, that's why a nighttime practice is really lovely, because you can set the vibe just as you're sleeping. But sometimes, you're having a rough night or whatever. So when you wake up in the morning, remembering to do some of these things to start the first few minutes can be a quick game changer, right in the moment. It's very powerful. Cheryl, how about you on this one? What's one of your practices you want to share with us?
I actually have two. One of is for the body because I'm older. I have trouble with my knees. So I wake up in the morning and do my little mini bike because that loosens up my knees. But the spiritual practice I have is I have a whole bunch of decks of oracle cards. And especially if stuff's been going on during the night and I've woken up thinking about, oh, what about this thing or that thing? I pull a card from whatever deck I feel drawn to that day. And I really think about what the card says and how is this going to help me through the day to day? What kind of things do I need to be focusing on in order to resolve some of those things that maybe happened yesterday or during the night that I was thinking about? And it really is amazing how much it can kind of guide you to, okay, I didn't look at it that way. I need to start doing something different.
It's a fun practice. Do you have a favorite deck?
I particularly love the Starseed Oracle. And you can guess why, because I'm very involved with the Stargate thing. But I do use the Food Healing Oracle deck, which is Laney's. And it's not just about food. It's just amazing to get through a whole bunch of things with. So yeah, I like those two.
Oh my gosh, you guys, the rabbit hole that you might go down with decks. Watch out, watch out. Denise, how about you now? Tell us a little bit about your practice.
Well, I do something similar to each one of the other guests here. My morning ritual actually starts the night before. I follow the teachings of Dr. Emoto, and I have a glass of water that I write a word on after I've looked at what's coming forward in the day. And so I pray over that at night. I go to bed. I wake up. I am thankful. The first thing that always pops up in my head is, I'm alive. and then I'm thankful for that. And I look at that water. I remember the vibration of that infused water as I drink it. That's the first thing I do. And then I actually go and hug my fur babies, because they are a blessing and a grounding for me. And then we sit on the front porch and we just take that moment of realizing what a wonderful earth we have decided to live on, and just feel that blessing. And part of that is then extending that out to my home and my community and then the world. And that is kind of how I start my day.
I love it. I love remembering the fur babies in that beautiful practice. So I'm going to come around for a message of empowerment to our listeners, coming around to all of you for that. You know, you all have devoted your lives to this path and the journey, and you really have mastered it to some level. This is, of course, a lifelong mastery. And there are people listening who just aren't there. Like they're having a tough day. They're down maybe 5 or 10 notches and they're listening, and they need to know that simple message, that simple step that might help them move forward, right? I think for me, and all of you have touched on this today, for me, it's like, come back into your body. It's okay. Take the breath, be here first, right? And then there are other messages. Julianne, how do you want to help people connect with their inner wisdom today? What's your message?
My message is to trust your body and the cues that it's giving you. If you're sad, heavy in the heart, if your belly and digestion is upset, if you are constricted and feeling angry, any of these type of feelings in the body and how they represent are your guide. It's a guide to the infinite wisdom that the body is trying to lead you into release so that you can live your most powerful life. Trust the signs of your body. Your body never lies.
Nice, powerful message. Cheryl, how about you? What's your message?
I would ask everyone to just stop for a second and think about perspective. One of the most beautiful things I ever learned from another practitioner was that look at things from the point of view of not why did this happen to me, but flip it and say, how did it happen for me? What do I have now that I would not have had if that horrible thing that I thought was so horrible, if it hadn't have happened? What good ended up coming from that? It's always a matter of perspective, and any modality you can use to change that, you're going to be ahead of the game.
No doubt. Those ninja moves of mindset is how I call them. Denise, what's your message today?
I would say that acknowledging our struggles is such a powerful and important part of the healing process. And that is why I focused on EFT, because that is the first part. You acknowledge what hurts, what isn't working, before you shift into the space of allowing yourself to have the grace to release it and replace it with a more compassionate space for yourself.
Yeah, really, it's really important in our community and especially in our conversations to remind people that fully feeling everything first is step one. And really giving ourselves permission to be recognizing what that feeling is. Really important, really important. Ruth, close us out with your message today. What do you want people to know?
So my message to people would be to not don't be afraid to change. And if you're going in a direction where you're not happy, you can always make a decision to change and to follow what motivates, what ignites your passion, And for me, that was Raindrop. And I choose that path, and I'm encouraging others to take the risk and to try something new. And you were born to live, not live in your fear, but to challenge that fear, face it, and go forward. So that's my charge to people.
I love it. Don't be afraid to change, you guys. Life is change, right? It's beauty and possibility in that. Ruth, Julianne, Cheryl, Denise, thank you so much for what you do in the world. And thank you for being here today to share it with everyone. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you, Laura.
So, you guys, if you haven't figured it out already, this is way more than just a book. This is a generous community of experts who want you to reach out. And they're there to answer a question, to give you support, to, maybe you just resonated with something that they said today, and you have a question about what's next. Drop down into the show notes underneath the video. I have everybody hooked up with their websites there. Please go explore what they're up to. It is a lot of awesomeness. And you're all invited to our book launch party. We're going to have that on Zoom July 18th. I have information down below about the party and getting your Zoom link for that. We're going to be together with all of our high vibrational wellness authors having a really fun celebration. And if you happen to be listening to this interview anytime after that date of July 18th, that just means you can get over to Amazon and grab your copy of this beautiful book. Lastly, today, everyone, remember, your words change the world when you're brave enough to share them. It is time to be brave. See you next time, everyone.